This is the Medical Minutes Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Your source for the latest news, updates, information, and more from the world of health and medicine. Now, here's Wish TV's medical reporter, Dr. Mary Gillis.
From Wish TV, I'm medical reporter Dr. Mary Gillis, and this is Medical Minutes on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Whether he's killing it in the kitchen, whipping up red chicken chili and apple salad, or taking you through a killer workout, it's always a blast when Life.Style.Live personality Firefighter Tim pays us a visit. On the outside, Tim is the picture of health, but sometimes looks can be deceiving. In this week's episode of Medical Minutes, Tim opens up to me about a disease he's been battling for over a decade. Our conversation is next. Firefighter Tim, thanks for joining me in the podcast studio.
Hey, no problem.
It's great to see you.
Yes, you too. You too.
So you just came off from a workout on Life.Style.Live.
Yes, I did. Yeah, we were doing a little bit of a walking workout now that we're in the fall season. Great time to get outside, enjoy that fresh air, look at the leaves, and also add some resistance. So we added some medicine ball or slam ball, kind of a weighted walk so you can carry it, throw it, pick it up. Your partner can do the same, so you're adding in all your muscles, your core, your legs, and just adding some resistance. And I like to tell people sometimes, you want to add resistance to adjust your cardio because the more lean muscle we put on our body, the better our bodies become a fat-burning machine. So,
oh, okay, totally.
Yeah, and that sounds cool to say your body's a fat-burning machine.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. When people are like, you're only human. No, I'm not. I'm a fat-burning machine.
Yes, I'm a fat-burning machine today.
Get it right.
Yes.
But Tim, that's not what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Tim, you have shared with me a private part of your life for a while, but now it's not anymore.
I am an open book about it. I've got ulcerative colitis, so autoimmune disease that affects my colon. Kind of in the family, people are more familiar with Crohn's. Crohn's can affect all of your digestive tract. It causes, some real issues at times for me, especially before I got it under control. I've been able to control mine with meds. Still every once in a while I'll have a flare up, but I'm in a good place with it right now. But when I first got sick, it was one of those things I told you.
Tell me
I didn't say anything.
Where were you?
We had just got back from a trip to Jamaica, which had nothing to do with the sickness, but I used that as my excuse in my head, right? I started having some bathroom issues. My stomach was not well. Food wasn't digesting. I was having to use the restroom a lot. And I thought,
like nauseous, throwing up, or was it just kind of like, man,
the other end.
I got to run back?
The other end. Food was not staying in me for very long.
Okay.
And at first I just thought, and I was having a lot of stomach pain, some cramping, a lot of noise, like my stomach was just gurgling and it wasn't feeling well.
Something was not right.
Yeah. And I just kept thinking, first I thought my stomach's just messed up this week. And then after 2 weeks, I was like, maybe it's just I got something when I was in Jamaica. So I kept ignoring it. So about 2-3 months of using the restroom, honestly, I got up to using the restroom 20 times to 25 times a day, waking up 4, 5, 6 times at night to use the restroom, and was losing weight. My color looked off, jaundiced a bit. And finally, Teresa kind of said, what is going on? And I said, okay, my stomach's been messed up. I think something's, not good. And then, you try to be a research specialist yourself. And when you look up problems with your bowels, it turns out that they could be one of anything, because when your stomach has a problem, very similar symptoms, diarrhea, constipation, cramping, bleeding, all these things that can happen. And so I was like, oh no. So I ended up talking to my family practitioner. They said, let's cut out some dairy. After a week, we realized that had nothing, it was something worse. So they got me into a specialist right away. I had a colonoscopy, and that's immediately they could see I was in a pretty bad flare and knew that I had ulcerative colitis. So then we kind of went down the track of how to fix it.
So it took some time to figure out what worked for you. And, I know you're a guy, you're a picture of health, a guy who's, you'd look at you and be like, there's nothing wrong with this guy. I mean, just look at him. But, And I
struggled with not being able to fix it with nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
That was a mental struggle for me. And it was one of those things when I first got sick, we went on some lighter meds. I had to go on prednisone at first just to help with get rid of the inflammation and get that flare under control. And then at first it was the lighter meds, but it was every couple months back on prednisone, back flaring. And my best friend's sister, Jay, his sister Christy, was kind of going through the same thing. It was crazy. We found out she had got diagnosed with the same thing as me 6 months before. And, Christy and I grew up together. I mean, we're like brother and sister in some ways. And so it was great to have her to kind of bounce what's going on. Even though I have this huge support network, I almost feel guilty sometimes for the amount of people between my wife, my mom, my dad, my in-laws, my brother, my sister, and then everybody on the fire department. It was almost embarrassing. I felt like how many people were there for me. And it was wonderful, but to have somebody that knows exactly what you're going through, like Christy, it was amazing. We could just talk about, the same thing. She just understood. So we would sort of joke back and forth in the morning. Maybe I would send her a text like, "What's up?" Or she'd send me a text, "What are you doing?" And maybe it'd have a toilet emoji. We would know how each other were feeling. And so that really helped. But we went down a path. I tried something called the specific carbohydrate diet. It was a diet that a doctor came up with in the 40s for bowel problems, whether it's irritable bowel, Crohn's, colitis. And, I stuck to it. And unfortunately for me, it really worked well for Christy. It actually really helped hers. I was a little different. Everybody is different, and it really didn't change my outcome. And I remember I got pretty sick, had to have an emergency colonoscopy, and my then specialist was amazing. I talked to her after, and she was sort of like, "Tim, you've let yourself get way too sick. I can't believe you've done this again. You're compensating too long." And she said, "You just can't fix some things, with nutrition, with fitness." And I mean, she was almost in tears herself. And was really passionate. I can't say enough about the doctors that I've had, and she was one of them that was just amazing and said, we need to tackle this a different way. And so then I went on to some immune suppressors. You see commercials for Humira. Now I'm on Entyvio. You see those commercials out there for those drugs, and Humira is a shot. It was every 2 weeks that I'd at first I thought I could give it to myself. I don't mind shots, never have minded them. When I was sticking myself in my leg, it turns out I wasn't as good at it. So I had my wife do it. So Teresa would give me a shot every 2 weeks. Unfortunately, after some time, that stopped working. It didn't work to ever the potential that we were hoping. So I moved over to Entyvio. First, it was every 8 weeks. We had to adjust it to every 6. And since then, it has really kept my flares under control. And Entyvio is an infusion. So I go somewhere and I get an infusion every 6 weeks. I'm there about 2 hours, start to finish. And it keeps me healthy. So I'm very, grateful for that.
So, Tim, I always think about that too. Like, no, I want to fix it with diet or whatever it is. If something should happen, it can be fixed with diet and exercise. So it must have taken a little bit of you for you to come to terms with that. Or how'd you feel? Were you like, I'm a total failure? Or
no.
Like, okay, I pushed myself enough. It's time.
I had pushed, and I was, had probably endangered myself. I had flared a lot, and with a flare you can have bleeding, and so there's a lot of other health issues that can come from that. And with the ulcerative colitis, one of the things I can't take NSAIDs, so no anti-inflammatories. I work out a lot, and you can carry more inflammation in your body just due to the UC, and so. I had, you when you're flaring, my joints hurt, and even when they don't. And so I had kind of gone to the limit that I could, which was hard, though. I mean, I remember sitting there just being frustrated by it. And, and I'm not saying that I'm not frustrated now at times, but I realize, that I'm fortunate to have the health that I do have, and I have that support network around me, and so those are the things that keep me positive. And I am still able to, be a firefighter, which I love. 18 years of doing this, and I can't imagine doing anything else. And then on top of that, I get to go a totally different direction than firefighting, but still, in my mind, help people. Whether it's coming on Life.Style.Live and showing healthy recipes, and sometimes they're just recipes that make you feel good because they taste good, or fitness, and I get to reach out to so many more people with that avenue that I've been given, and that came from the fire department. And so that's really where I kind of find my passion and kind of my drive to every morning still get up and work out, because there's 70% of the mornings where I wake up and I think, I do not feel that good. Mornings can be a little harder, but I think, all right, I push through it.
Well, this is important because that's part of managing your ulcerative colitis is to exercise and
exactly.
eat well. You can't go off, you can't go off on that.
No, exactly. And that keeps me strong. I've had other health issues probably due to the UC, and if I wasn't in the physical fit shape that I'm in, I think that it would have had a lot greater toll on me. So it doesn't get easier as we get older. It doesn't get easier when you have an immune system, but it's one of those things I continue to do because one, it's kind of a passion of mine, but it also makes me feel good. I want to be able to, I've got 5 daughters. I want to be able to run around and stay in shape as they get older, and then someday have kids, and I'm a grandparent. So that's one of the reasons that I continue to drive the way I do.
I was doing this. I'll be featuring George Mellet too, and we had a podcast too, and he said something very powerful to me. Stay active, stay alive.
Yeah. I think that is an awesome statement. My mom, my dad, they were active when they were younger. My mom retired about 2 years ago, and she walks. She's always been a fit person. She was a runner, and now she really has transitioned that into walking. She's 68, and she walks every single day, minimum 7 miles a day. Every day. It doesn't matter, 2 degrees. My mom is bundled up, heated gloves, face mask. She's out walking 7 miles. She's a machine, and she's in great physical shape because of that. So
is she a fat burning machine?
She is a fat burning machine. Yeah, she has become walking as much as she does.
That's incredible to have like a role model and so you grew up that way. So Tim, let's pivot to someone who maybe didn't have that sort of modeling. They weren't able to, grew up that way, and they're suffering with whether it's ulcerative colitis or something else that's health. I'll say it's never too late.
No.
What is your philosophy on being here as long as you can, staying healthy?
Well, if they could see me, what I would tell people to do, I think I saw maybe John Cena do this when he was talking about staying in shape, and I loved it. He scooted back, he was in a chair, and the first thing he did was stand up. So if somebody could see me, that's the first step, get up. And it doesn't matter, everybody always waits. And so my point is just get up, start today. Everybody wants to, it's always like, I'm going to start next week, this program. You don't have to start on a Monday. If it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if it's January 1st, or if it's April 31st, it doesn't matter. Today's a good day to start. And if you've never done anything, let's just start by getting up and walking. You start by walking and build that walk into a mile, then 2 miles, and then you can start to add some resistance. Whether it's just body weight, you start with push-ups. Another good thing to do as we're getting older too is you need to make sure, we lay on the floor and we get up, and that sounds silly, but as we get older, when someone falls and then they can't get up, so continuing to build and strengthen the muscles that get us up off the floor, because I can't tell you how many times as a firefighter we run on somebody that's fallen and can't get up, and that's something. And we all get old, and eventually everything will deteriorate a bit, and so you may need to ask for help too with family members or friends, or get outside help, and that's okay too, even if you've done everything you can. So I'm not saying we never mind going on somebody that falls. That's our job, and we love to be there to help people. But some steps to try to help yourself as you get older is to work on making sure you always get up. My grandmother was that way. She was so funny. She could touch her toes into her late 80s until she passed away, and it was really funny because she always stretched, and so she just never lost it. And so here is my 4'11" Italian grandmother, and she could drop down, and put both palms on the ground. Because she always continued to do it. So
she sounds like a wonderful woman.
Yeah, my grandma Vera was amazing, and I was fortunate. Again, I grew up with such a close knit family, and that to me, family doesn't. For me, it is the family. It's my relatives. And then also the extended family in the fire department. But your family can be whoever you make it is. So whether it's, some of my best friends have become family members. Ian Reppert, who's on the fire department, he was in my brother's wedding. He comes to vacation and holidays with us. So your family can be whoever you decide that is too. And so I think having people to support you and reach out and find those people is big, And then also kids can have the same thing I have, and I like to try to talk to those children and make sure they know, look, hey, I stay fit, I'm still a firefighter, what kind of medicine are you on? When your stomach's hurting, how does it hurt? And because they can maybe express to me a way they can't to their parents or somebody who doesn't have the same problems they have.
And you'll be doing this soon. You have an upcoming when you'll be talking to kids soon.
No, I've done that in the past. I have done it.
And you'll also be doing it at some point.
I don't have anything scheduled as of now. I have in the past done stuff, and I would love to. So I'm always open. Or if people hear this podcast, if they see the segment, I am more than happy if they end up messaging you to reach out to them and say, hey, yeah, I'd love to talk to your kids. I'd love to. I had somebody, when I've talked about this in the past once, he had a son who was around 18, was suffering with Crohn's or colitis, and I can't remember which one at the time, but was looking into the fire service, told him kind of the meds I was on, how I dealt with it, because I want to empower, especially those young kids, to not feel like they're alone in what they have. And I was fortunate. I was 32 when I started having issues with this. And so I want to be there to kind of help younger kids too.
So parents listening, if your kid is struggling with something that, whether it's ulcerative colitis or something that's intestinal sort of condition, Firefighter Tim is here for your family and for your children. So reach out to Wish TV and we'll get you in contact with him. Okay. Tim, great to see you.
Yes, you too.
Any final messages to people, our listeners?
Again, get checked out. So we're getting into November. We're hitting October. November is going to be it's Men's Health, so they talk a lot about getting regular checkups for men, like colonoscopies, testicular exams, those type of things. Make sure you get out and get your regular checkups, because I know it can be embarrassing, especially when people talk about colonoscopies. They're really not that bad. One, you're asleep. I don't even know what's going on. So that's fine. But it's worth it, because at the end of the day, what they find in those tests could save your life. So please don't hesitate. If you're having a problem or you're at the age where you should be getting those regular tests, get them, because they make a difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, Firefighter Tim. Thank you, Tim.
Hey,
always
thank
great
you.
To see you.
You too.
This has been Medical Minutes from Wish TV. I'm medical reporter Dr. Mary Gillis. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast and check out new updates every week. You can also learn more at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook.
This is the Medical Minutes Podcast with Wish TV's Dr. Mary Gillis. Be informed and stay connected for the latest news and information when you like, subscribe, and follow this podcast, and discover even more from the All Indiana Podcast Network. Now at allindianapodcast.com.